And welcome to another episode of Expert Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Melanie Rembrandt. Melanie, thanks for being my guest again on Expert Speak.
Well, thank you for having me, Michael. It's great to see you.
You are welcome. It's always good to be with you, Melanie. Well, I don't even know when it was, but you were my guest a year and a half ago or so, and we're at that time. I mean, we're always talking about PR and the importance of PR, the power of PR, and we were talking about your book, and I'm sure we'll get to that as well. But Melanie runs a company, Rembrandt Writes, and she works with business owners with PR, but she takes a very different perspective than what I would say traditional PR when you think of that. It, that is, but it isn't what Melanie does. Melanie's all about writing great copy, getting you featured, helping you influence. I'm just, Melanie, I'm taking your steam, I think, but we're going to talk about all kinds of things because I love what she does, um, so let's just reframe this a bit, Melanie, as we're talking about PR and all of that. There's a lot that we're going to talk about today, but you've got a background in things that I think people need to hear. So tell us how did you get doing what you're doing today?
Well, I've been writing since I was a little girl, but I went into the entertainment industry and I was actually a working dancer in Hollywood for many years. And in the background, I was writing and doing public relations and uh, doing that while I was auditioning and doing shows. And then I retired from the entertainment industry and did public relations full time. And I was working for all different kinds of companies, corporate, Fortune 500, small businesses. And then I had worked for two different tech companies. And I was laid off from the first tech company. And then the second one, they pulled me in their office and they said, Melanie, things are not going well. We're going to have to let you go. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what can I do? What can I do? And I quick thought, well, why don't you hire me as an outside consultant? And then you won't have to pay employee benefits and you'll get the, fabulous service. So instead of leaving the office without a job, I actually left with my new business and went straight to get my license and everything I needed. So that was over 20 years ago, and I've never looked back.
I love it. What great thinking on your feet, right? To go. "Mm."
It's more
It's
like a panic attack.
Well, yeah, no, because I worked for a .com a number of years ago for 2 years and had a similar situation to the first one when they just all their money dried up overnight and it's like, yeah, you don't have a job anymore. We're all going home. Actually, it was
Yeah.
like, oh wow. But that pivoted me into ministry and that kind of launched my whole career in anything. So it's fun. Sometimes those are good conversations when you can think on your feet and then find a new thing. So you started helping them with some other things, and you've done this for 20 years now in helping business owners, entrepreneurs with this thing called PR. So let's unpack how you perceive it because sometimes it has a bad rap. Sometimes people really don't even understand what it is, and they relate PR to watching something on PBS, and they're like, "Oh, yawn, yawn," and it's like, "No, no, 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 you don't understand." So unpack for us your perspective of PR.
Well, a lot of people think PR stands for a press release,
Yeah,
and it's public relations,
there you go.
which are the relations you have with your public, which it
Mhm.
means all the communications you have with outside sources, especially the media, but also internally with employers, advertisers,
Yeah,
investors. So it's all the communications you have. And public relations is all about controlling that messaging so you get the right message out to the right people to get the results that you want. So
yeah.
put it in a nutshell, it's all about communications.
It is. And that's really good. I love that because you're right. So many people think press release or it's just for the newspaper or the magazine or whatever. And in today's day and age, and tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. This is my perspective, is that I think um, your audience, whoever that audience is for every business owner, right? I think people are researching, they're watching, they're reading posts and articles and newsletters and things long before they ever engage for an appointment. And PR and communication can play a massive role in connecting with that audience, building trust, credibility, all of that. Am I on the right track or am I like barking up a wrong tree?
No, you're definitely on the right track because public relations gives you something nothing else can, and it's that third party credibility. It's when someone else who's an influencer that your target market is paying attention to is talking about you and your business. But as soon as you pay for the placement, it goes into the world of advertising.
Yeah.
So public relations is really getting that credibility, that authority from someone else talking about, the great things you're doing in the local community, what's happening inside internally. Maybe you're having a chili cook-off or you're doing something
Yeah.
with a charity. So that's the key to public relations, is the credibility and authority that you receive from it.
See, and that's so good. And this is probably not even a thing, but I'm going to call it, it's the soft side of selling, because so one of my big marketing philosophies, Melanie, is people buy who you are more than what you do. And that's really what you're talking about there, that if people start hearing about you, reading about you, talking about you in the media, but on online things, in the old water cooler conversations. I don't even know if they have water coolers anymore. Um, but if they're talking about your involvement and who you are and how you operate, more people are going to be able to come to you for that, trusting, I guess, that you're going to be a great financial advisor or attorney or whatever, versus always just hammering them with, hey, the new tax cut bill came out and you've got to call me today. It's just almost repulsive.
Exactly. And what it does is people are not thinking about you 24/7, sorry to
Mm-hmm.
say, and they're not always ready to buy. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're out there in the media, maybe they're looking at a newspaper and see a story about you, you remind them. So when they
Yes.
are ready to buy, they contact you, especially if you're in the media and your competition is not. You have
That's
a huge competitive edge, but it's building awareness so that they know, like, and trust you before they even are ready to buy. And then when they're
yeah.
ready to buy, you come top of mind and they give you a call.
Right. Yeah. I call that becoming a household name. Right. And
Exactly.
and it's done. Consistency over time is another philosophy that I preach all the time, and that plays really well in what you do, because it's the message, but people need to hear it multiple times over a long period of time in a variety of channels and media. And I think one of the other things that business owners forget is that your audience is everywhere. It's not, you don't just target them on TikTok or just LinkedIn. You need to be. I think it was Dan Kennedy always talked about being omnipresent in your market. Wherever your audience is, you need to be in those in as many places as you can afford to be. And with what you do, you're creating content that can be multiplied in a variety of places and channels. Is that fair?
That's fair to say. And then the other thing, you mentioned Dan Kennedy, which we are both trained in Dan
Yes.
Kennedy's copywriting and marketing. A lot of people think, hey, I can get you on the cover of a magazine, but then what happens? You can share it with your mom and your friends. There
Yeah.
has to be a back end to
Yes.
all of your public relations that works with your sales and marketing. What happens when you're on the local TV news? What do people do? Is your website ready? Do you want them to call you, sign up for your newsletter? That all has to be part of it and in place for you to get the best results.
Yeah.
So it's something that's unique about me as I look at the whole content marketing
Mm.
strategy that goes with the public relations, and it's all communication. So it all has to work together so you get the right messaging out.
Yeah. So it's I- I'm writing here as I'm thinking. You're saying it's like direct response PR. It's direct response communication, really. And you also have this PR bent to you because you understand the media and how to get placements. But yeah, being on a TV show or being in the newspaper or being on a magazine, yippee! What are you going to do with it, right? And that's where you need Melanie to really understand this whole concept, to bring it together. And maybe that's why PR, public relations, has a bad rap, because most PR firms, dare I say, don't do what you do, Melanie. And they can get you featured, but they don't understand the back end connectivity that you understand. And that's really where the needle starts moving. Fair?
Correct. And that's kind of why I'm the secret weapon for my clients. I
Yeah.
really don't do a lot of marketing. I've been in business these 20 years, mostly from referrals.
Yeah.
So it is something. And a lot of people, unfortunately, come to me who have been ripped off
Oh,
by
yeah.
those big agencies and they paid a lot of money, but that back end part wasn't there, so they didn't see any results.
That's right. Yeah. You throw it on the wall and you get the stickers or whatever, but stickers and accolades are wonderful, but dollar signs are even better for a business owner, right?
Exactly.
We're here to make a profit, to serve people. And when you do communications properly, when you do PR properly, you've got to understand the message that you're putting out in all the channels, but how it all connects with the marketing, the sales, and everything. And even the simple, hey, I'm serving this community. I'm going to the dog pound this weekend to care for some dog. Whatever, all of those are part of, dare I say, your personal and corporate brand that can be leveraged to reach the heart of your audience, because then they're going to feel better about you. I mean, am I right? Isn't this kind of how it works on a big picture?
Right, you're showing yourself as a human being. A lot of the press releases that are inexpensive out there are written strictly for AI, but you're
Yes.
missing that emotional intelligence and the stories inside your head. That's what people want to hear about. That's what the media wants to hear about. So it's very personal, and it's you sharing your story.
Mm-hmm.
And when you share that, that's what people like, and that's what makes them contact your business to find out more.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, it goes all the way back to what Kennedy taught us, right? Your marketing needs to be attractive and repulsive at the same time. And that's what happens when you structure your communications right. And I think that's one of the things that I so appreciate about you, Melanie, is you understand the communication, the wordsmithing, dare I say, of messages, because it's not easy to craft a compelling message for your own business. They're too close to it. You just happen to have that gift to be able to work with them and discuss that. Talk a little bit about that process when somebody comes to work with you of discovering that message and tweaking things. How do you do?
Yes, and it's very targeted. Unlike others out there, I do everything one on one. You cannot blink at the world with a press release and hope the media call you. You have to find out what that media member wants and create a story specifically for that person and their audience and provide value. So it's a very specific story for each particular person I'm going after, whether that's a media member or they're trying to do crisis communications or some kind of internal employee event. It's very targeted and one on one.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, that takes more time and effort, but that is what gets you the results you want.
Yeah, seriously, the less is more
Mhm.
philosophy, right? And if you're going to communicate your message, you need to do it in a way that's personal, that's human, that's connected to that audience. And you just named two or three different audiences that business owners forget about. But internal communication or crisis management, right? If something happens, whether it's an internal thing or whether it's an external thing related to your industry, how are you going to approach that and let your audience understand that you're an expert, that you're the place to turn, and how can you amplify that sometimes through even media placements and things. But it's not just media placements, this is communication. I loved how you said that at the very beginning, because all of marketing is communication at every level, right?
Correct. And with crisis communications, you've got to plan for that in advance because an employee might send out a tweet about something that you had no idea they sent, and all of a sudden it goes viral. You cannot be scrambling around to respond. You've got to
Right.
be ready. So that's also a part of public relations. A lot of business owners don't think about and they're not prepared for.
That's right. And that'll sneak up and bite you really
Yes.
fast, right? If you think about that. And talk about, all right, so what's it look like for a company to all right, before we talk about what's it look like to work with you, because I want to go down that pathway. What are business owners thinking about, struggling with, wrestling with maybe before they reach out to you? They've tried lots of things, they've heard PR. What's going on in their head, their heart, that causes them to go, I think it might be time? What's going on in their psyche?
Well, they've either been with several marketing companies or several social media firms who promised them XYZ, and they feel burned. So a lot of
Yeah.
times they come to me and I need to educate them a bit about public relations and avoiding all of those ripoffs out there. And then there's also the business owner who comes to me, or where he or she is just starting and launching, which is great because you're starting from a fresh slate. And they need all their messaging put together. They usually have a sales and marketing team in place. And then they're missing this third party credibility, because you could have a story in the local newspaper, but obviously it goes online and it's international.
Right.
So, one little story can do an immense amount of add productivity,
Yeah.
engagement for your business. So, I kind of share with them the big picture, that what can happen with, just
Yeah.
doing these things.
That's right. Yeah. And it is really big. And we've all seen on the websites or something, as seen in, as seen on, those types of things. And this is one way to get that is, you can go after that directly, which is great. You can go after it indirectly, but it's really having the right message, the communication to understand that you're, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here. The marketing message that you put out many times needs to be different than the media message that you're going to, because the media is interested in a different thing than your marketing audience. And that's how you help a company merge those two worlds when they need to try to do some media. Is that right?
Exactly, because the media is constantly changing. There's always new news stories and trends, and you have to be aware of that because their whole point is to share valuable, entertaining information
Yes.
with their target market. And you have to be able to stick with them, know what they want, and give them that information. And people don't like to be sold to, as Dan
Right.
Kennedy always says. And your personal message that's going out there, it's about you. It's the benefits you can provide. It's the value. It's not about sales. It's you and your personal message.
That's right. And the more that you lead with that, especially in today's world, where I think most business owners who are trying to get out of the crowd and really cut through the clutter and become an entity, they need to see themselves, and I just despise using this word, as an influencer, but not like everybody says, for your audience. You need to be somebody that they can trust, that they hear from regularly with a consistent message where you're educating them, but you're also being really personal in that. It's Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that, being an influencer, or maybe you've got a better word for it, in your audience, whether you're an attorney, a financial advisor, a plumber, a car repair shop?
You want to be the authority in your field.
Authority, that's a great
There
word.
you
I
go.
like that.
And yes, and part of the communication with public relations, it's not just a press release. It's not just talking to the media. You need to have regular blogs, articles, emails, newsletters. All of that messaging works together. And I work with my clients on all of that. So it's out there and
Yeah,
it's constantly building that authority.
yeah,
And in addition to all the media that's out there, plus they might need a newsroom because you
right.
want your information there 24/7. So if
Yeah,
a reporter needs something, it is there. If your information is there and it's not there on the competition site, you get the story. So
that's
there's
right.
so much involved with it. It's not just one piece of content, it all works together. And I come in and kind of look at missing gaps in that area as well.
Yeah, and that's so important because again, when you get that story, right? Now you have the opportunity to build a relationship with a new public, right?
Correct.
And that's how you see some. It's like, why does somebody get in the media all the time? Because they've built a relationship and they understand what that media outlet is looking for. And that message, though, needs to be consistent with your emails and your blogs and your posts. And so many times business owners are just too busy. They either A, don't do it, or they do it and it's just there are different messages everywhere. And it's the consistency across all those channels, the clarity of your message, the communication, coming back to that communication word, that's just so vital. So, all right, let's talk about what's it look like to engage with Melanie. What's it even look like? Somebody calls you and says, "Okay, I heard the podcast. I'm interested in talking because I've been thinking about this whole PR thing, and I know I don't do much of it, but talk to me about what does it look like in working with you at a high level."
Well, I actually offer a free initial consultation on my site because
Okay,
I need to find out if we're going to be a good fit and I can actually help you.
love that.
And I also offer a free report on my site on 5 ways to ace your next media interview. So there's some free information there, but I basically talk to them, find out what they're trying to do overall, uh, and then go from that perspective. If they decide to move on with me, we have a long discussion. I ask them many, many questions and then come up with an overall strategy, which includes the public relations, the communications, the little messaging content pieces that they're missing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm very transparent and open. There aren't any surprises with me. And I become a member of their team.
Yeah.
And at the end of the month, they get a report, they know what's going on. So it really is just me stepping in as kind of a fractional PR director and helping them and working with their team. And obviously that takes a lot of time and effort, but that's what you need to get the results.
That's right. And don't, dare I say to the business owner out there, don't silo this, right? This is something that influences everything. And you have to be willing that Melanie is probably going to come up with something that might influence how your salespeople are communicating to your prospects. And that has to be in alignment, because what you're going to find is that when your prospect hears something online, then they speak to somebody and they hear the same thing, and then they come to the onboarding and they hear the same thing, and you deliver and they hear the same thing, that builds great credibility and trust. And now they're going out and telling everybody else. And that's the power of great communication, right?
Exactly. There's no confusion. All of your team members know the message too. So when they're out selling, they're giving that message, and all the people who hear the message hear the same message. It kind of just makes common sense.
It really does. Oh, it totally does, because you get the compound effect of messaging. And not only is everybody clear, I think they're more engaged. I think employees want to work at a place that has a strong message that they can believe in, probably even more than money. I mean, money's important, but I want to work somewhere where I can pour my heart and soul in this place and have a piece of the action and making it grow and making an impact. And that communication is vital internally, I think probably first, and then externally, so the two actually match.
And that's one of the secrets of public relations. Great new hires and top talent, they are researching the companies they want to work with. And if you have all this cool news, like you had bring your pet to work day or you had a chili cook-off, you sound really like a fun place to work. So you
Yeah.
can actually bring in top talent to you and attract them to you through public relations. And a lot of business owners don't even think about that.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, so I've got a client who does great stuff like that online, LinkedIn, YouTube, just talking about the events his team does for the team, his team does for their clients and stuff. And most of what he shares does not relate to what he does, right? It's just all this other stuff, but it tells us who he is and how cool their firm is. And so people just keep flocking to him, and his business is growing like crazy. He's taking it what we would call a non-traditional approach to marketing, that we would say, duh, that's what you're supposed to be doing. But nobody talks about this except Melanie. And that's why you need to work with Melanie. She's your secret weapon, because she can teach you how to do all this, guide you through the process, help you do it. And it really does. It moves the needle. And so much marketing doesn't move the needle. It's just a waste of time and effort and money, and people have gotten burned. And so if that's you, if you're sitting there frustrated and just going, yeah, I hear it's just one more. Trust me, she's not one more. Melanie's like in a category of one. There's no,
Oh, thank you,
what
Michael. I
you
appreciate that.
you are, Melanie, and that's why I wanted you back on the podcast. I know we're going to be at an event later this year, and it's going to be great to see you. And but I just think business owners need, maybe I'm the third party endorsement from Melanie. I don't know, but it's like if you're just struggling, you're tired of the race, and going, am I going to hire one more person? Yeah, you are, but it might be the last person you hire, because she's committed and she's personal, and I don't. Yeah, I'm not. I was going to say, I don't think you use AI either. Um,
For
you know,
research, for research,
for
but not.
research, yeah, and that's great, because research is great, right? But when you start bringing that into, let's make my message using AI, it just flattens it and goes. Um, That's for another conversation. But you're going to actually talk with Melanie because that's how Melanie functions. So schedule that call with her. Okay, so somebody's out here and they're like, okay, Michael, shut up. I want to figure out how do I get a hold of Melanie? How does somebody just find out? How do they get into your world to reach out, to understand, to research, and to say, okay, who is this Melanie lady?
Well, they can go to RembrandtWrites.com. There's lots of free information there. I've written several books. They can check those out, kind of get a feel for me. And then there's the free report, as I said. I send out a regular monthly e-newsletter, and there's a link there to contact me and schedule an appointment, and we'll have a quick chat. And if anything, I'll point you in the right direction.
That's great. I love it. So I'm gonna grab all that, put that in the show notes, and just really recommend you reach out to Melanie, have the conversation around what is the power of PR, and it's personal relationships, it's your communication of your message in a variety of ways, and it's having somebody who's been around the block a few times for over 20 years doing this, who's been well trained and is above all of that, just a great person that you're going to love talking with. So reach out, have that conversation with Melanie, and talk about business growth and how you can really influence your authority, your credibility in a different sort of way, but it's going to drive money to the top line and the bottom line because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So
Well, thank you, Michael, for those kind words. I like to help other people. So
I know you do, and that's why we bonded a long time ago. And it's like yeah, we need to keep having you here because what you do is different than what most marketers do, and most business owners don't even think about it. And so I want them to think about it. I want them to think about working with Melanie. So I'll have the RembrandtWrites.com in the show notes, and you can reach out to her and just make a great connection. So Melanie, thank you. Thank you for being on my podcast again and just being a bright light in my day.
Oh, thank you, Michael. I have such a good time here, so I love it. Thank you for having me back, and hopefully it provided some valuable insights for
Oh,
people.
incredible. You always do. So thanks for listening to Experts Speak. Tune in again next week for another great episode. Take care and God bless.